Welcome back. MPs are going to debate the State of the Nation address today and tomorrow. Perhaps the key takeouts, of course, were the energy's state of disaster and, as we were discussing earlier with Lukhanyo Vangqa, the new electricity minister. And there was also Ramaphosa's take on Mbeki's "I am an African" speech. Well, we did hear from the minister in the presidency earlier. Now, let's get the thoughts of Lukhanyo Vangqa, political analyst, joining us. Hello again to you, Lukhanyo. I appreciate the time. So, I'm not sure if you heard the interview that Tumza and I had with Lukhanyo Vangqa a little bit earlier. I'm not really wanting to weigh in per se on the parliamentary debate later today. How do you think this is going to go based on how SONA went? Good morning. What's your preview? What do you think?
Morning, Gareth, and morning to the viewers. I think it's going to be much of the same. You can tell which political parties are going to be in support of the president's SONA, which political parties are going to think it was a brilliant SONA, a great SONA, and you can tell which ones are going to disagree and castigate the president. And I think there's going to be a number of areas in which the president is going to be castigated by the opponents. And I think first of all, and directly, is the fact that this speech will go down as the "I am an African" speech, in the way that the president used words, prose and poetry to delink the identity of African from the soil of Africa. And I think many proponents of Africanism and Pan-Africanism are going to disagree with that, because the identity those proponents ascribe to being African is that you must have heritage and links to the African continent. And as they say, you are either a daughter or a son of the soil. So the president delinking the African identity from the soil, speaks or runs against the mill in that regard. So that will be an area of castigation. The other area of castigation will be the state of disaster. As you've seen, the DA has already taken him to court, or indicated they'll take him to court for that. But there's also going to be other issues with regards to that is declared a state of disaster for electricity, but there are many other areas that the country seems to be in a disaster in. For an example, our rail infrastructure is in a state of disaster. Locomotives are not moving. A Transnet business and mining is complaining that they cannot get their goods to the ports because of that. You look at the rate of gender-based violence in this country and the high levels of femicide, and you look at the high rates of crime and murder in this country, where people can get shot down on the streets. That is a state of disaster in itself. You look at the rates of youth unemployment. That is a state of disaster as well. So it's not a state of localized disaster that is only attached itself to load shedding in our electricity supply, but rather it's a state of generalized disaster that this country finds itself in.
And for some bizarre reason, maybe it's because, as we were told on Thursday, we are a nation of hope and resilience. Our hope and resilience, our resilient hope, if you will, is going to rest in one new portfolio, apparently. The new Minister of Miracles, new Minister of Electricity, is the person to fix this. What did you make of that?
The Minister of Load Shedding, I think you try new things if you run out of ideas, Gareth, and that's where we are. I think give the portfolio an opportunity, maybe to be able to arrest the current situation and current decline that we have. Let's give it that opportunity. But the problem again that arises with that is it seems like you're opening another doorway into this disaster, and therefore you're fragmenting the approach to resolving the electricity supply. When the president announced the state of disaster, he added the Minister of Kokta into that fray of ministers that are currently dealing with the disaster. And you look at the fact that public enterprises is also in there, the Minister of Energy and Minerals, Gwetewandashe, is also in there. You've added the Minister of Kokta. Now you're going to add a Minister of load shedding, electricity, whatever the nomenclature is used. It just seems like you have too many cooks that might spoil the soup.
Just very quickly before I need to let you go in a moment. So we're now hearing about the state of disaster. So we'll move away from the minister, the potential minister, for a moment. Court cases abound. I have no doubts we'll see the DA talking about that in Parliament today. And also Tumza speaking to the NUMSA spokesperson, Pakamile Hlube Majola, saying that government's going to manipulate this as well, going to court, and so is the DA. So this isn't going to go down quietly, is it?
No, absolutely not. And I think there's good reason for people to be apprehensive with regards to a state of disaster, owing to what we saw in the state of disaster for COVID-19 and the very high levels of looting, of racketeering, of corruption that happened during that state of disaster. The ANC, unfortunately, has not covered itself in glory with regards to that. So people will generally and justifiably be apprehensive when a state of disaster is going to be declared, which might do away with the checks and balances that are embedded within the procurement system and the PFMA of government. Once that is jettisoned, then people are going to have a cause for alarm as to what then is in place to prevent the high scales of looting that we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the biggest concern for many, many people. We haven't exactly got a great track record when it comes to managing state of disaster. So now it wasn't just COVID-19. Lukhanyo, as I say, thank you to you. It wasn't just COVID-19. Now it's a state of disaster for electricity and a state of disaster for flooding. Lots of questions going to come out in the State of the Nation debate. But my thanks, as always, political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa joining us here on eNCA this morning. It's